Have your attention, please.
We're live.
Okay, we're on the
recorded.
record.
Folks, if you don't have anything to say per the meeting, for the record, for the good of the order, please go on mute. Thank you. I'll give everyone a moment. If you're not about to speak, please go on mute. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 28th, 2020 meeting of the Albany County Legislature. My name is Andrew Joyce, and I serve as chair of the Albany County Legislature. Whether you're watching this meeting via our YouTube stream or listening to it via telephone, you can tell we are not in our normal chambers. As the world moves forward in response to the COVID pandemic, we too have to adapt. The governing law directs that we hold a public hearing prior to the passage of local laws and certain legislative. Our rules prohibit members of the public from questioning legislators and prohibits us from questioning you. Your input and your commitment to come here to speak is very important to us. You will never be subjected to debate, and these proceedings will be conducted in a timely manner out of respect for your schedules. This is an opportunity for you to address concerns you may have with the item on tonight's agenda. We have 43 speakers tonight, all for local law B, so we'll take that one last. I'd like to remind everyone who may be new to the process here, we are not voting on anything tonight. These are just for the public hearings. Speakers will be allowed 2 minutes each. And when the clerk is ready, she can call the roll.
Baxter.
Here.
Brewski.
Here.
Bergdorf.
Here.
Chapman. Chapman. Clay. Please mute. Clay.
What were we saying?
Larry.
Sorry, Bill, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Larry.
Here.
Tomaso.
Here.
Cunningham. Demolowitz.
Here.
Drake.
Here.
Afakoro. Ethier.
Note that they're always there.
Gil. Edie. Oh, Afakoro's here. Feeney.
Here.
Fine.
Here.
Grimm.
Here.
Andrew Joyce.
Here.
Ray Joyce.
Here.
Kuhn.
Here.
Langdon.
Here.
Lakakis.
Here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Mariello.
Here.
Mayo.
Here.
McLaughlin.
Here.
McLean Lane. Miller.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Hurley.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Plosky. Reedy.
Here.
Here for Vicky, sorry.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Ricard.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Tunney. Ward. Sean, are you here? No, I heard you.
I'm here, yes. My space bar didn't work.
Whalen. Jen. Willingham.
Here.
Are there any members of the legislature that didn't hear their name called?
Nicole,
Yes.
I am so sorry. It's Allison McLean Lane. I'm in the outer Cape at the moment and my connection keeps going on and off. I am here. I
I
apologize.
got you.
Okay, are there any members of the legislature that hadn't heard their name called? Okay,
So I have 34 present.
thank you. Clerk, please read resolution number 241.
Resolution number 241, public hearing on proposed modifications to agricultural district numbers 1, 2, and 3. Resolved by the Albany County Legislature that a public hearing be held remotely. Instructions available on the Albany County website at 7:15 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020, for the purpose of receiving the comments of any interested persons regarding the proposed modification to agricultural district numbers 1, 2, 3 within Albany County, and it be further resolved that notice of said public hearing be given in accordance with the requirements of the Agriculture and Markets Law, and be further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is directed to forward certified copies of this resolution to the appropriate county officials. Affidavits of publication are on file in the clerk's office.
Speakers are called in the order their names appear in the sign-up sheet or sign-up order. Speakers are permitted 2 minutes to express their views. Speakers may not ask questions of legislators, and legislators may not ask questions of speakers. First name on the list, please.
There are no speakers.
Is there anyone in this room that wants to speak on resolution number 241? Hearing none, the public hearing on resolution number 241 is closed. Clerk, please read resolution number 215.
Public hearing on proposed local law number D for 2020. Resolved by the county legislature that a public hearing on proposed local law number D for 2020, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, authorizing the county executive to negotiate a lease agreement of property owned by Albany County with the Shaker Heritage Society, subject to the approval of the Albany County Legislature, be held by the county legislature remotely, with instructions available on the Albany County website at 7:15 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. The clerk of the county legislature is directed to cause notice of such hearing to be published containing the necessary information in accordance with the applicable provisions of law. Affidavits of publication are on file in the clerk's office.
Is there anyone in the room who wants to speak on resolution number 215, local law D for 2020? Hearing none, the public hearing for resolution number 215 is now closed. I'd ask once again to look at your phones and go on mute if you're not ready to speak. Clerk, please read resolution number 242.
Public hearing on proposed local law number C for 2020. Resolved by the county legislature of the County of Albany that a public hearing on proposed local law number C for 2020, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, providing technical amendments to local law number 5 for 2019, be held remotely by the county legislature with instructions available on the Albany County website at 7:15 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020, and the clerk of the county legislature is directed to cause notice of such hearing to be published containing the necessary information in accordance with the applicable provisions of law. Affidavits of publication are on file in the clerk's office.
Is there anyone in this meeting who wants to speak on local law C for 2020? Hearing none, the public hearing for local law number C for 2020 is now closed. Clerk, please read resolution number 192.
Public hearing on proposed local law number B for 2020. Resolved by the county legislature of the County of Albany that a public hearing on proposed local law number B for 2020, a local law of the County of Albany to prohibit waste burning and to protect the clean air of Albany County, be held by the county legislature remotely with instructions available on the Albany County website at 15 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. The clerk of the county legislature is directed to cause notice of such hearing to be containing the necessary information in accordance with applicable provisions of law. Affidavits of publication are filed in the clerk's office.
Mr. Camiso, please put your phone on mute.
Can't do it. Not working.
It's star six.
Hit *6, Frank.
1 minute.
Mr. Ethier, Mr. Beston, if you could do the same, be much appreciated.
Does that work?
I think it's star 9, isn't it? I'm just gonna have to do that. Go on.
Okay. Clerk, please read the first name.
Carol Waterman.
I'd like to remind everyone we have 2 minutes. Please be respectful of everyone's time. We have a lot of people signed up to speak tonight on this issue. Go ahead, Carol.
Carol's got herself muted.
Carol, take yourself off mute. Carol, are you there?
I hope. Did that work?
You're there. You got 2 minutes,
Okay.
Carol.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's ban the burns. Let's stop Lafarge from burning tires and Norlite from burning AFFF, AKA forever chemicals. Much of the damage to the health of children and adults from AFFF is lifelong impairment, suffering, and sometimes death. These two corporations are public health menaces who expose people to a cauldron of toxic chemicals, and they're never held accountable in any meaningful way. The fines, sometimes you'll look at a fine and it'll be several $1 million. That's small change to them. It's the cost of doing business. They do what has long been called Pinto math. Pinto as in the Pinto Fords that exploded when there was an accident. And one of their memos got not exactly leaked, more like stolen. And it said that if they recalled all those cars, it would be $11 per recall. It would be cheaper to pay the cost per accident for the out-of-court settlements. I promise you that these companies have done the Pinto math. Now, both
30 seconds,
sides,
Carol.
What?
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Both sides are on this issue are green. On the other side, the green is money for big, rich, polluting, law-breaking companies who want to line their already overflowing pockets while lining our lungs with toxic chemicals. On our side are people who want to protect our planet and want children and all of us to breathe clean air. Thank you.
Perfect. 2 minutes on the nose, Carol. Great job.
Ta-da.
Next speaker.
Carol Butt.
Hi. My career has been in the field of environmental health as a specialist, and I've spent decades evaluating air, water, and hazardous waste samples for injurious contaminants and trained hundreds of people in the health effects of the toxic exposures and advised them in ways to lower their potential exposure. So I speak from a professional place. Burning waste that contains diverse materials results in combustion products of unknown and toxic composition. These combustion products contribute to numerous health problems. There are particulates and gases which often cause health issues that last a lifetime and disastrously affect people's quality of life, causing extensive medical costs to people of all ages, not to say the pain that they suffer. The combustion products not only float in the air, but travel into the water, polluting their drinking water. Heavy metals, carcinogens, lung debilitating chemicals, and other contaminants which are not routinely sampled for are inhaled and ingested and can debilitate for life. Even our municipal waste is not exempt from these hazardous contaminants and from contaminants form when these materials are burned together. Last but not least, the carbon dioxide produced also increases how rapidly we cause
30
climate
seconds. Carol.
catastrophe. We must call a halt to any burning of any kind of waste in Albany County and everywhere. Done.
Thank you, Carol. Clerk, next speaker.
Joe Ritchie.
Hi, can you hear me?
We got you.
Hi, my name is Joe Ritchie. I've been a lifelong resident of Saratoga Sites for 19 years. I think this issue is a very big one to me and my family, and for the residents of Saratoga Sites and Cohoes. I don't think this is a partisan issue. We're talking about the environment. Norlight must be stopped. It's been polluting our area for decades. Albany County has let Norlight pollute Cohoes for so long. The legislature has let Cohoes pollute Cohoes for so long. It's time to take a stance against this facility and others around the county, because we can no longer afford for these companies to pollute our fields, to pollute our streams, to pollute our rivers, and to pollute our children. The people and the victims of Saratoga Sites will be forever victims because of these forever chemicals. And it is up to the legislature to have the courage to pass comprehensive laws that will protect the residents of Saratoga Sites, protect the residents of Cohoes, New York, and protect the residents of Albany County. For far too long, we've been dealing with bureaucratic crap, and it was time for this to stop. Norlight and the many other facilities in our county have been going on for generations. There has been generations of pollution in the soil. There's been generations of pollution in the Hudson River. It's unacceptable. It is disgusting that we have to talk about this in 2020 when we should be looking to the future, to a brighter, greener future.
30 seconds, Joe.
We need to act now, and it's up to the legislature to support the residents of Saratoga Sites and to support the people who live in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Clerk, next speaker.
Fran Porter.
Hello, can you hear me?
We hear you, Fran.
Great. My name is Fran Porter. I appreciate the chance to speak to you this evening to ask that you please pass clean air legislation, Local Law B. I live in Guilderland, which was designated a clean energy community in 2018. Albany County was designated a clean energy community in 2017, something that makes me proud to live here. The Albany County Legislature has been visionary in passing legislation that promotes clean energy, waste reduction, and protects against environmental degradation. This legislative body has passed many bold laws, including legislation that paved the way for the state to ban fracking, polystyrene containers in food service establishments, and toxic toys. County government has often been the fail-safe for protecting the health of its residents, and Albany County has proved to be that fail-safe time and time again. We need clean air legislation right now. As a former director of the WIC program, I know that diet has a critical impact on fetal growth and development. Providing access to specific nutrients during pregnancy creates successful outcomes for babies, such as longer gestation periods and greater birth weight. These outcomes have significant effects on healthcare. Do I have time?
You do. I was just letting you know you had 30 more seconds.
Okay. Including pollutants that women breathe in the air. For decades, we've enacted public policies that reflect our knowledge about prenatal risks, such as requiring cigarette warning labels, alcohol warning labels. And in 1951, DDT was first found in breast milk.
That's time, Fran.
Unless we can guarantee that the emissions from burning firefighting foam, tires, or anything else will not affect human life, including unborn babies, we have the obligation not to burn them. Members of the Albany County Legislature please vote for local law B. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Clerk, next speaker.
Anita there?
Hello?
We hear you, Anita.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. My name is Anita Thayer. I'm a resident of Albany, New York. I live on Mount Hope Drive in the south end of Albany, up the hill from the Port of Albany. One of the consequences of COVID-19 is that we have learned that our communities of color and our low-income communities have been the most adversely affected by COVID. This has happened not only because of the differences in availability of healthcare, but because of many other factors that disproportionately affect these impacted communities, including the communities in Albany County. One additional factor that can partially explain the disparate impact is air pollution. Research has shown that long-term exposure to pollutants such as fine particulate matter, nitrogen dioxide, and sulfur dioxide can reduce lung function and cause respiratory illnesses. These pollutants also have been shown to cause a persistent inflammatory response, even in the relatively young, and increase the risk of infection by viruses that target the respiratory tract. The pathogen that causes COVID-19 is one such virus that targets the respiratory system. Several studies have already suggested that poor air quality can leave people at greater risk of contacting the virus and at greater risk of serious illness and death. The communities in Albany County that have higher asthma rates are Cohoes, Queens, and the South End in Arbor Hill in the city of
30
Albany.
seconds.
These are the communities most affected by poor air quality and are the communities that are most at risk of COVID. If you don't want your family and neighbors exposed to pollutants and toxins, please vote yes for a strong local law B and make sure that other families and neighbors are not exposed either. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Clerk, next speaker.
Tick.
Mr. Tick,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you.
All right, hello, good evening. Last year, when we looked at the plans for Lafarge to burn tires, we looked at its history of numerous fines for breaking laws and regulations. We don't have to go over that again, but I want to point out that Norlight has, in many ways, a similar history. And we should keep in mind that while the pollution from Lafarge and Norlight overshadow our community, the bulk of the profits go to the owners, countless miles away. The saddest part of this discussion around the clean air law is that we're not just debating whether or not to burn tires or whether or not to burn firefighting foam or plastic or other garbage. We are also debating how many children, how many elderly, how many men and how many women are going to be poisoned with lead, with dioxins, and with so much more. With your vote on this bill, you will decide how many more will get respiratory diseases, cancer, neurological disorders, asthma, allergies, and who will become even more susceptible to the COVID-19 pandemic from the pollution. Your vote may even decide how many more may die an early death from pollution. The people who will suffer are our neighbors, our friends, our children, and our parents. And your vote for or against the clean air law will be for or against them. The clean air law is not just about jobs, because no jobs will be lost if we decide to keep these
30 seconds.
Sure. No jobs will be lost if we decide to keep these poisons out of our air and out of our water. It is about the immense profits for giant corporations that are putting their private desire for wealth above the well-being of our community. As legislators, you've been entrusted to represent us, and when you cast your vote, I hope you will be thinking of how your vote impacts the lives of the people in our community. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Tick. Clerk, next speaker.
Ms. Zillen or Zellen?
Agnes. You gotta get closer to your speaker, Agnes.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I will be submitting my testimony in writing. I am reading a statement tonight from Grace Nichols of Byrd, New York, who couldn't be with us on this call. Her words certainly reflect my intentions for presenting this testimony. I'm thinking of each of you today and your commitment to a healthy, safe environment in Albany County. With your vote on the clean air law, you have an opportunity to make history. The Hudson River has become a target of multinational industries and more recently the United States military as a place to litter our air and water through waste incineration. Burning garbage is itself a public health hazard, yet the industries know no boundaries as they choose to also burn hazardous waste and PFAS, firefighting foam, by definition hard to burn and also persistently toxic in the environment. With your vote, you have a chance to safeguard these Hudson River shores, our winds and our land from heavy metals and persistent organic particulate matter. You can be part of reducing the toxic load in our air, water, the soil that grows our food, and the food we pass on to our children through breast milk. Through your actions, the lead level in our children's blood will be lower, the dioxin burden in our body's fat deposit systems will be less. You will be voting for reducing triggers for respiratory disease, cancer, cognitive impairments, neurological disorders, and many other devastating chronic conditions. You will help stop the chain reaction of poisons traveling
30 seconds.
from the soil to vegetation and wildlife and to us. I thank you for acting for our future, for generations into the future, by defending our county against air pollution and the water and health degradation that follows. And again, that was testimony from Grace Nichols.
Thank you, Agnes. Clerk, next speaker.
Larry Whitner.
There is something muted. He's It's Larry.
Larry? Larry, there's something wrong with the pitch on your speaking device. Mr. Whitner, there's an issue with your connection or the pitch on your speaking device. If you could drop and try to call back in. Mr. Whitner, if you could go ahead and drop and attempt to get back into the room, we will take you up next. Clerk, please read the next name.
Michelle Masserine.
Michelle?
Yes, I sent in my statement, but I just had two other comments that I wanted to mention.
It's a very strange.
And the first is, in the new law, will there be a position that's going to be responsible for monitoring facilities that's going to be independent of the DEC and EPA? And I know you don't have to respond to these questions. Will there be a public hotline that will be available to report that an individual can report a potential violation? And my other question is should local governments be looking for economic development that will promote more waste coming into the area, or should we be looking at taking an economic development position that will stop the expansion of landfills, trucking garbage, and burning waste? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Patricia Sibilia. Clerk, can you read the next name?
That was Patricia Sibilia. Is she there?
Mr. Tick, could you place your phone on mute, please?
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to get unmuted. I apologize. I'm Patricia Sibilia, the president of the League of Women Voters of Albany County, and I'm speaking on behalf of the league tonight. As stated in Local Law B, the intent of this law is to promote and protect the public health and welfare of the residents of Albany County by prohibiting the burning or related processing of waste. Because of the technical nature of this legislation, it is difficult for a layperson to completely understand all of it. And we recognize that there has been much discussion about the legality and legal language of it. We have placed our trust in the county lawyers with their expertise to ensure the intent is achieved. On Norlight, we, like so many others, were shocked to learn that they were burning PFAS chemicals without any environmental review or the legally required test burn, that this occurred while under the watchful eyes of the state DEC employee who was permanently stationed there due to Norlight's prior history of abuses. The fines imposed by the DEC can easily be seen as just the cost of doing business for this multinational firm. On Lafarge and the burning of tires, we've carefully read Lafarge's perspective on the bill. Their argument that the EPA and DEC regulations are adequate to protect the public is highly disputed by respected scientists. As Chairman Joyce noted in a December letter to the county executive, a company can follow state regulations and still be a large air polluter that is unhealthy for county residents. State regulations are not strong enough and monitoring for most pollutants is too infrequent. And where Lafarge says the danger of stockpiles hasn't been researched enough, I agree, as it has been shown that new products derived from waste tires generate more economic activity than combustion, and it's something that more research can bring to light. It is unfortunate that our state and environmental government, our state and federal government has failed us in these situations, but we need to start the change at the level where it can get done. The League believes the citizens need to engage on all levels of government, local, county, state, and federal, to protect their rights. Likewise, we call on our government, who needs to perform in the best interest of its citizens at all levels. Albany County needs to set an example by beginning the process of change. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Clerk, next name. Mr. Whitner, are you on? I believe Mr. Whitner is back on.
Hello, can I be heard?
We can hear you. You sounded like Mickey Mouse before.
Oh, all right. I'm not. All right.
Okay.
My name's Lawrence Whitner, and I live in the city of Albany. For 36 years, I taught history at SUNY Albany, serving most of the time as an elected officer of its faculty union, United University Professions. I'm here today to support the passage of a strong Clean Air Act. The facts are pretty clear. Lafarge wants to burn millions of tires and other waste at its cement plant in Queens, thereby causing serious health problems, even death, for residents of Albany County. This contamination of the air at a time when the coronavirus pandemic is destroying people's respiratory systems is particularly reprehensible. Furthermore, Norlight in Cohoes has been burning millions of pounds of firefighting foam containing deadly PFAS for 2 years without a permit or apparent concern for public health. A false impression has developed that the labor movement supports these corporate practices, but nothing could be further from the truth. I've served for about a decade on the executive committee of the Albany County Central Federation of Labor, and I've never heard a word spoken at our meetings in favor of the behavior or plans of Lafarge or Norlight. In fact, in 2019, the Albany County Central Federation of Labor endorsed and worked for the election of candidates for public office in Queens opposed to Lafarge's tire burning scheme. Members of the legislature, it is your job to help safeguard the public health of your constituents. Please enact a Clean Air Act that bans the burning of tires, toxic firefighting foam, and other materials in Albany County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitner. Clerk, next speaker.
Susan Du Bois.
Okay, we don't have Susan. We'll give her a moment. We'll certainly get back to her when she joins. Susan, are you on? Okay, we're going to move on and we'll take Susan when she comes in. Clerk, next name.
Marshall Miller.
Mr. Miller,
Yes, can you hear me?
we can hear you.
Great. So yeah, I speak tonight as a parent who's raising two kids, two girls here in Albany County, ages 8 and 12. And I'm just concerned about the growing body of research that finds a really negative effects from and harm from air pollution. Just to give you a few examples, the London School of Economics researcher did a really interesting study where he compared air pollution on a particular day with students who were taking exams. And he found that not surprisingly, that the worst days for air pollution correlated with the worst test scores. And on days with cleaner air, students did better. Another study looked really carefully at crime. This is an MIT study that was 9 years, 9,000 cities, air pollution, and it found that air pollution could predict 6 major categories of crime, including manslaughter, rape, and robbery. Another study found that teenagers exposed to toxic air had a serious decline in their mental health. And that's just a small handful. I'd be happy to share a summary of these in the chat if it would be helpful. But the bottom line is we all breathe Albany County air. And for the sake of everyone, especially our children, I really urge you to pass this law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And just an administrative note here to the members of the public, we are bringing you into the meeting when it is your turn to speak. And if you are on the Zoom and if it's not your turn to speak, you are on mute. But if you have something you want to share with the panelists, or the clerk or the council or myself, please go ahead and send a message. Okay, clerk, next name.
Paul Silipote.
Paul? Paul, are you there? Paul, you may have yourself muted. We'll wait for Paul. We have him. Paul, can you unmute? Mr. Shilapati.
Gillipote.
Yep, can you hear me now?
Paul, is that you?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, we
All right,
hear you.
well-
Go ahead.
Okay, great, thank you. My name is Paul Shilapoti and I live in the town of Knox. And I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak tonight. Clean air law B is so essential for protecting the health of us citizens. The science clearly demonstrates how burning toxic waste releases dangerous carcinogens into the air and in turn into the water, which we all need. Profit simply isn't a good reason. It's not a good enough reason to place so many local residents at risk. Let's face it, we really have run out of time. We simply can't justify sacrificing our kids' future for our immediate financial or political gains anymore. It's just unthinkable. So please rise to the occasion if you weren't already planning on doing so, and do the right thing and vote for this clean air law. And I also would like to say a quick thank you to all the activists out there that are working so hard to try to educate people and encourage people like myself to get off my duff and make a public comment. They're doing a great service. And thank you all, you legislators, for your service as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Clerk, next speaker.
Liza Cotton.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, my name's Eliza Cotton. I'm going to be a junior at Bethlehem Central High School, and I am just going to speak in favor of the clean air law. So it is looking that we will be going back to school, at least in some capacity, fairly soon. And we all know that there are certain conditions that we need in order to go back to school. So such things as adequate cleaning supplies and masks and low infection rates. And we know this because these are the facts that scientists have told us. So if our county is following the direction of this science, we need to follow the direction of all science. And scientists have told us that burning tires and other materials increases the concentration in the air of almost every type of toxin as compared to coal, and that's coal. So let's look at just one of these toxic chemicals, dioxins. Dioxins are the most toxic man-made chemicals according to the EPA. In fact, they're 10,000 times more toxic than the next most toxic chemical. In the majority of studies on tire burning has increased the dioxin concentration in the air. And the Lafarge plant that is burning tires is right across from a school. And I believe that it is unconscionable that we would send students like me to school every day, knowing that they are breathing in life-threatening chemicals at any time, let alone during a global pandemic of respiratory illness.
30 seconds, Eliza.
We wouldn't send kids back to school with no masks and no sanitizer, so I do not understand why we would send students back to school with any protections from toxic, life-threatening chemicals. I wouldn't want that for myself. I hope that you would not want that for your child or for yourself, because we know that clean air is a human right. We need local law B, we need it urgently, and we need it with full protections for students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eliza. Clerk, next speaker.
Maureen McGinnis.
Hold on a second.
Maureen, are you in the room? We don't see Maureen, so we're going to move on to the next speaker.
Chris.
Okay, sorry, I got Maureen.
Stand by.
Oh, she doesn't have her name.
Maureen, are you here?
She's got herself.
Maureen, can you take yourself off mute?
Hi, can you hear me
Hello.
now?
We've got you.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. My name is Maureen McGinnis and I'm president of the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber opposes Local Law B, the Clean Air Act. While the Chamber favors efforts to keep the people of Albany County healthy, we believe this law negatively impacts job creation and the economy in reference to the Lafarge plant. At a time when our local economy is in a precarious state, it's irresponsible to prevent Lafarge from operating. The consequences will be felt at all levels of our economy. An increase in unemployment leads to reliance on government services, less money spent at local businesses, and fewer tax dollars for the school district. It is disappointing to learn that only 5 legislators have visited Lafarge to learn about the operations and the new technology. Prior to voting on this, it's imperative for members of the legislature to visit the site. Without an understanding of the operations, how can you make an informed decision? We have little control over the economic impacts of the pandemic. Businesses in Albany County are struggling. We have businesses report that they won't survive past August if things don't improve. There's nothing you can do about that. You can help preserve the jobs and create new ones at Lafarge. We encourage the county to find ways to work with businesses like Lafarge. In addition, we strongly encourage the legislators to educate themselves on how this plant is operating prior to voting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. Clerk, next speaker.
Chris Zawinski.
I got Chris.
Chris? Mr. Savinsky.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Something booted me off when you guys unmuted me. Hi, yeah, my name is Chris Savinsky. I'm a resident of the Maplewood section of the town of Colony, just a mile down the road from Norlight's Smokestacks. I'm also a lifelong resident of Albany County, a father of 4, raising kids just in the proximity of these smokestacks, and a PhD biochemist with a background in cancer biology. My family is deeply troubled by Norlight's decades-long pattern of Clean Air Act violations. they've demonstrated an inability to control the emissions from their operations. PFAS compounds have been associated with diverse human diseases, including cancer. Norlite burned about 2.5 million pounds of toxic PFAS containing firefighting foam in 2018 and 19. And given Norlite's demonstrated inability to control emissions from its operations, many experts agree that incomplete combustion was likely and that the nearby communities were likely contaminated. Because Norlite burned these chemicals in secret with no stack testing, no scientific study can fully characterize the exposure levels and the risks to nearby residents like those at the nearby public housing complex Saratoga sites and my 4 children. We are, really, really alarmed by this. It's unacceptable, and polluters like Norlite need to be held accountable for their past failures, but better yet, regulated in the future. So I'm here to ask you to ensure that this never happens again in our county. I urge you all to sign this bill. I thank you all for your service and hope that you all do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, next name.
Aaron Kelsey.
Aaron Kelsey. Aaron Kelsey. Aaron Kelsey, take yourself off mute.
Can you hear me?
We got you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Joyce, and members of the legislature. My name is Aaron Kelsey. I'm the area environmental manager for Lafarge at the Ravenna Cement Plant. The plant manufactures cement, the most important ingredient in concrete, the second most consumed product in the world. It is an essential construction material upon which society is built, as it shelters, protects, and connects each and every person. Lafarge places a high importance in producing cement products in the most efficiently and with the least amount of environmental impact. At the Lafarge plant, the investment of a $500 million modernization overhaul in 2016 transformed the plant into a state-of-the-art manufacturing cement facility. It includes one of the best environmental, technologically advanced control system for its operations made possible in North America. The proposed law has no merit, no scientific reported evidence, no case comparison studies, and is presented to this legislature with no regulatory agency position or support. Furthermore, the law has been assembled by individuals who have no professional environmental background experience and are targeting Lafarge as an individual business. The plant needs to keep the plant competitive from imports, and today it is not. Foreign import cement products are threatening the life of this plant. More importantly, our focus needs to be on finding solutions to help balance the needs of business with our commitment to sustainable operations to protect our environment. Allowing the use of TDF as a fuel source is just one way. It's the right way to meet our common needs. Please do not pass this law. Vote no against local law B. And again, I thank you, and I invite all of the legislators who have not come to visit the plant to come visit the plant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey. Clerk, next speaker.
Sandy Stubing.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for deliberating on this important issue. Before I read my statement, I'd just like to double down on the student, what she said about having to wear masks, but being right across from the industrial plant. My heart goes out to her and all her students for being in that situation. And I hope you consider her statement very seriously. I will just reiterate and double down on all the people who want you to pass the Clean Air Law, even though environmental standards may have been improved in Lafarge. that doesn't mean that there aren't still toxins in the air. We've been producing fossil fuels for who knows how long. So even without an industrial site right next to you, there is going to be polluted air that we all breathe. And babies and the elderly are especially susceptible to these pollutants. Not everyone is equally resistant. So it's time to put a stop to locating these foul industries anywhere near human residences, no matter how good they think that they've improved. And it's past time to shut them all down. Please pass the Clean Air Act, and thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Sandy. Clerk, next speaker.
Nancy Tamina.
We don't have Nancy. We will certainly invite her in when she comes into the meeting. Next speaker.
Montana Stone.
No. Okay, we do not have Montana in the public hearing yet either. We will move on, but certainly take her up when she arrives. Next speaker.
Kendall Walden.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
We got you, Mr. Walden.
Hi, my name is Ken Walden, and I live in Ravenna, New York, and I am the acting plant manager at Lafarge Ravenna plant. We're the leading manufacturer of cement in New York, which is an essential ingredient for the infrastructure, the hospitals, and the schools. And I'm here representing our 250 incredibly hardworking employees, who many live in Albany County. I would like to note I included a letter written by Michael Nixon, our VP of Manufacturing, and sent to the Albany County Legislature in May, and I strongly encourage all of the legislature's members to read this, please. As you may know, this isn't the first time that I and many of my colleagues and community advocates have spoken to this body against the law. On multiple occasions, we've gladly presented the scientific and environmental evidence that tire-derived fuels, TDF, is well tested and industry best practice that provides immense positive impacts, especially to landfills. This is the right thing to do. We appreciate the opportunity again to present the scientific facts. TDF and alternative fuels are cleaner than coal. They're necessary for sustainable domestic cement production and are highly regulated and scrutinized by the New York State DEC. Moreover, the United States EPA fully supports the responsible use of tires and cement kilns and considers TDF to be a green alternative to fossil fuels. It's long been our position that the New York DEC is the proper environmental regulatory authority to oversee our alternative fuels program. We have repeatedly reiterated this, and we've expressed that we will legally
30 seconds.
Our right to utilize alternative fuels in the plant. Foreign competition during this COVID crisis is drastically affecting the prices of our product, and the plant was even forced to lay off 2/3 of our workforce and partially idle the plant once already this year due to these financial pressures. This is partially due to their use of these alternative fuels.
That's time, Mr. Walden.
I thank you very much for your time, and I would love to invite you all to tour the plant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. Clerk, next speaker.
Maya Boswell Penk.
Okay, hello. Hi, my name is Maya Boswell Pence. I'm a resident of Albany, and I'm a former professor of women's gender and sexuality studies at UAlbany. I published a book on environmental contaminants in breast milk and looked at a lot of research regarding contaminants in breast milk. Currently, I work at Rise with refugees, and I wanted to urge you to vote for local law B, in spite of the fact that perhaps these companies have made attempts to, clean up their acts. It's not worth the risk, in my opinion, to allow the burning of these toxic substances. I work with immigrant children, and I just want to paint a picture for you guys of something that happened in my office recently. I had a young boy from Congo named Amara having an asthma attack, and there was just tears streaming down his face as he struggled to breathe. And it was just such a painful, helpless place to be. And I urge you to do the right thing in protecting our children. And Anita Thayer spoke earlier about the people of the South End, Arbor Hill, West Hill, being more vulnerable people and frontline communities. So I think it's important that we do the right thing on this issue. I also wanted to say that I also work with lactating women, and women want to do the right thing for their child. They want to nurse their child. It's the healthiest for moms and for babies.
Best time, man.
Okay, thank you. I thank you very much.
If you wanted to finish your point, you can finish it.
Okay, it's important that women know that their breast milk is as safe as possible. As Fran Porter pointed out, when a woman has a high body burden of toxics in her body, that's passed on to her nursing infant. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Clerk, next speaker.
Okay. Now we can watch the show.
Say again, clerk.
Did I sound like Russians?
Nicole?
Sorry, I was on mute. Chris Ballerino.
Mr. Ballerano, are you here? Mr. or Mrs. Ballerano?
Perfect for putting ice, a whole bunch of chopped ice, and my seltzer and.
Are they in the room? Okay, we do not have Chris. When they arrive, we will certainly get to them. Next speaker, clerk.
Sarah Promiska.
Sarah? Sarah, can you take yourself off mute?
Go.
We have you.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for having me, as well as everybody else. I was recently in a video which you may have seen, and in that video, I was just a few months pregnant. Actually, I was just a few weeks away from giving birth to my baby boy, and I'm happy to say that he's here and he's healthy, and I couldn't be more proud and happy. What I would like to tell you is that I'm a resident of Queens. I live only a few miles away from the Lafarge plant, and when we chose our house here, the Lafarge plant was actually a deterrent to us. But we did fall in love with the architecture of the area. There are countless people. There are countless people counting on you to make the right decision. To pass the clean air law, we desperately need your support to stand up for the little people. And as a new mother of a 3-month-old now, I can't tell you how important it is for me to be able to give him the best life possible. And if he's breathing in toxins and drinking toxins, his quality of life is just not going to be what it could be. There's also no evidence that burning these products is safe. So we need to do our best to protect, obviously, the next generation, but also our wildlife and environment. Without these, we don't have a leg to stand on. So please choose people. Please choose people over profits. That's my ask to you. Thank you.
Sarah, this
Thank
is
you.
Janet. Can you spell your last name?
P-R-U-I-K-S-M-A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk, next speaker.
U-I-K-S-M-A.
Momo.
Stand by one moment. Clerk, next speaker.
U-I.
Christine Momo.
Stand by one.
Whoever that is watching it. 1 second. Ask who is just unmuted.
Who is just unmuted?
I was unmuted. This is Chris Ballerano. I was having trouble with this Zoom. I'm not hearing properly, and there was no mute button.
Who is just unmuted?
I was.
Okay, well, you're next, so you can go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
No, I was having trouble with this Zoom. I'm not hearing properly, and there was no mute button.
Okay, Chris, can you turn off your computer in the background, or at least turn the volume down?
I was having trouble with this Zoom. I'm not hearing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this.
You need to turn on your
I use
computer.
Zoom all the time, and I don't know.
We'll pick her up next.
Turn it off? How am I? I don't know what's going on with this.
Turn the volume down.
All the time, and I don't know. Okay, I have the volume down completely.
Okay, we'll see if it works.
All week, and I haven't had this issue with a mute button.
The floor is yours, Chris. Go ahead.
So I could not get unmuted when it was my turn to speak a few minutes ago. I just want to echo the previous caller and their comments. I work with a lot of folks as a health coach. I've seen increasing levels of cases of asthma in the Albany area. I've been living here for over 30 years. I hope you can all hear me now.
We've got you.
I can't tell if you are because I turned my speaker all the way down because things were echoing here. But if maybe somebody would nod, I'll know that you're listening. And great, thank you. So basically, as a health coach, a yoga instructor, an educator, an advocate with the Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and a human rights activist, I just don't think that we have the science to prove that there is such a thing as best practice in this industry. Honestly, we're right now living proof, seeing all the impacts of having believed industry standards over the many decades that industrial proliferation has occurred in the US, such that now we have increasing carbon, global warming isn't even the proper word for it. It's excessive waste, it's excessive consumption, it's capitalism gone amok, and it's ruining our environment and the health of our families and children. And I seriously would appreciate, I really appreciate that you all are taking these comments and that you're really examining this issue. I know it's not an easy thing to do, trying to weigh out the pros and cons. But when we think about the future, I'm at the point now where I don't even know if I'm going to have a future with grandchildren in it because of the state of this world. And I really think we need to be erring on the side of caution when it comes to toxic chemicals and toxic products that we just need to be really, 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 really careful with. So I echo the previous comments that were made by folks who are more scientifically geared than myself. And I've gotten many emails from scientifically
That's time, Chris, if you can hear me.
educated folks encouraging me to call and make these comments tonight, which is why I logged on after a 10-hour workday. So I appreciate very much all that you're doing to do the right thing. And I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Clerk, next speaker.
Robert Hayes.
No. Okay, Christine Promomo, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we'll take Mr. Hayes next. You can go ahead.
Okay, good evening. My name is Christine Permomo. I'm a retired RN, and my husband and I live in the town of Clemens. My hope is that Albany County will protect all of us by finally passing a strong bill that's going to protect our air, water, and soil, not just for all of us today, but for future generations. I am one of the hundreds of activists who've been in this fight for clean air in our communities since December of 2017. In 2016, the town of Clemens was alerted to the fact that Lafarge Wholesome Cement Plant and Ravina's plan, they were going to import and burn waste from over 50 Connecticut towns in their incinerator. This plant is directly across from Ravina Selkirk High School. That plan was scrapped, and then they next pushed to burn tires. Both of these plans were underway without the knowledge of town officials. We know that cement plants globally are looking to import waste to burn at their kilns. This is a totally economic move that just disregards the air pollution implications. We do know, it's well known, waste and tire burning is dirtier than burning coal or other fossil fuels. And when the toxins from these waste-based materials go into the atmosphere, they threaten our air, our soil, and water in the immediate area and beyond. In late 2017, the town was alerted by the Energy Justice Network attorney Mike Ewald to the possibility of tire burning at Lafarge. The town of Clemens did the right thing. They passed a clean air law in the spring of 2018 to protect us all from exposure to these dangerous.
30 seconds.
If I am asking and hope for a clean air law from this body that bans burning of toxic tires, toxic firefighting foam, and other wastes at new facilities or existing facilities that aren't already burning waste, I want to have the Norlite burning of firefighting foam prohibited, and I want a ban on waste to fuel facilities that aim to process trash or other waste into burnable fuels. Burning waste in tires is a huge setback environmentally in our air, water, and soil to keep it free of contaminants for us, future generations, and we all want to breathe clean air. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Clerk, next speaker.
Robert Hayes.
Hi, can you hear me?
We've got you, Mr. Hayes. Go ahead.
Great, fantastic. Hi, my name is Rob Hayes. I am a policy associate with Environmental Advocates New York here in Albany, and I am speaking in support of Albany's clean air law. Clean air is more important than ever during the COVID-19 pandemic. Communities exposed to dangerous air pollution have higher rates of respiratory illnesses, and because of that, these communities are at high risk of developing serious and life-threatening complications from COVID-19. Clean air is critical to keep people alive right now, especially in working class communities and communities of color that face the worst of this problem. If there was ever a time to stop new pollutants from entering our air, it is now. I also urge you to ensure that the law's language is crystal clear regarding the incineration of PFAS chemicals. The incineration of PFAS must be permanently prohibited in Albany County. There is simply no evidence that incinerating PFAS is safe. These chemicals are specifically designed to be resilient to destruction. It's why they last so long in the environment and pose such an immense threat to human life. And so to conclude, you have an extraordinary opportunity to protect the health of Albany County residents during this unprecedented pandemic, and I hope that you take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Clerk, next speaker.
Jennifer Congdon.
Jennifer, are you in? Jennifer, you might be muted.
Can everybody hear me?
We got you, Jennifer.
Hi, good evening, legislators. Thank you so much for having this hearing tonight. My name is Jennifer Congdon. I live in Slingerland, and I'm also the former Assistant Secretary for the Environment in New York State. I am testifying tonight to urge you to pass a very strong clean air law, and I would ask that it does the following things. One, that it bans the burning of trash, tires, toxic firefighting foam, or other waste at new facilities, as well as at existing facilities that aren't yet burning waste.
2, that it clearly prohibits Norlight's burning of PFAS-laden firefighting foam known as AFFF. And 3, that it bans waste-to-fuel facilities that aim to process trash or other waste burnable fuels. This is very important for the health of all local residents, especially children, the elderly, and people who already have underlying health issues, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. The chemicals that we could be exposed to have lifelong effects. Clean air is a right, not a privilege. The Albany County Legislature has been a leader time and time again on very important environmental issues, and I urge you to again lead on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Condon. Clerk, next speaker.
Roger Downs.
Roger? Roger, you may need to unmute.
Good evening.
We
Can you
got
hear
you.
me?
Robert. Roger.
Great. My name is Roger Downs. I'm the Conservation Director for the Sierra Club Atlantic chapter. On behalf of our 50,000 members statewide, of which more than 1,500 reside in Albany County, I would like to express our strong support for the clean air law, especially in the time of COVID-19, where air quality degradation will only deepen the already grave pandemic crisis. The Sierra Club for decades has advocated for the elimination of harmful beneficial use determinations as permitted by the DEC that allow cement kilns and other industrial facilities to burn tires, hazardous chemicals, and other waste materials as fuel. And there are better and safer solutions for the recycling of these resources. And we recognize that the clean air law is not only about the current facilities like Lafarge and Norlight, but also other threats emanating from future incineration proposals. The city of Albany is still dealing with the fallout of contaminated soils in the surrounding neighborhoods of the old Answers plant and Sheridan Hollow. Decades after its closure, we must not leave the door open to repeat that tragic environmental injustice. A year ago, Governor Cuomo signed into law the strongest climate legislation in the nation, mandating that New York receives all its energy from carbon neutral sources by 2040 and reduces its greenhouse gas emissions 85% by 2050 across all sectors. A significant part of this ambitious task is to adopt zero waste policies that recycle all materials back into modes of production that conserve energy, create new products, and emit the least amount of carbon and pollutants. Trash incineration is among the most expensive and polluting ways to manage waste or to produce energy, creating worse byproducts and emissions and making harmful contaminants more available to be inhaled or ingested. Albany County has always been a state leader when it comes to local environmental policy. The Sierra Club asks you to once again rise to this challenge and establish a law that will not only protect the health of our residents, but set a blueprint for the other counties to keep pace with our environmental and climate obligations. Please pass the local clean air law. Thank you all.
Thank you, Roger. Clerk, next speaker.
Rachel Frasella.
We do not have Rachel. We'll be sure to take her up when she joins.
Judith.
Clerk, next speaker.
Judith Inc.
Judith, you can take yourself off mute.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Thanks, good evening. Thanks for this opportunity. My name is Judith Inc. I previously served as Deputy Secretary for the Environment for 2 governors and most recently was appointed by President Obama to serve as EPA Regional Administrator. Local Law B needs to include the following. It needs to clearly prohibit the burning of toxic firefighter foam anywhere in Albany County, including Norlight. Second, it needs to clearly prohibit tire burning anywhere in Albany County, including at Lafarge. And I appreciate the mention of the Albany Answers garbage incinerator. I worked with residents of Arbor Hill to get that polluting facility closed years ago. And I appreciate that this bill would ban future incineration. All of you as elected officials have been working so hard to address COVID. I am grateful for that. I want to point out that 9 million people worldwide die every year due to air pollution. US, 40% of all Americans live in areas that do not meet clean air standards. Now, I know that some of you would prefer that the Trump administration or the Cuomo administration handle this issue, but do not assume that state and federal regulatory agencies are on top of local sources. In the cases of Norlight and Lafarge, the federal and state governments have failed the people, and that's why you need to pass this bill. Lafarge already has approval to burn tires, so we need to act and make sure that happens. Norlight burned over 2 million pounds of toxic firefighter foam without informing any of you. Norlight, because of their past record of violations, has an on-site monitor at the site, but that didn't work to protect the public. County legislators, you're closest to the people, and I strongly urge you to adopt a strong clean air law that's very clear on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Clerk, next speaker.
Tim Guinea.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tim Guinea. I'm a leader with former Vice President Al Gore's Climate Reality Project and the Legislative Action Director for the Climate Reality Project's New York Chapters Coalition, representing thousands of people statewide, including many in Albany County. I want to first just thank the legislators for your service. I'm also a cancer survivor. My wife also has breast cancer right now. I want to say that because it's important that you don't just hear numbers as numbers, but as human beings. Judith just mentioned the extraordinary number from The Lancet, one of the two great medical journals, that 9 million people die worldwide because of air pollution. We can do better than that. Many of those people are dying from air pollution that's far less toxic than what we're talking about tonight. It's important that the Albany County Legislature can certainly do better than allowing for the burning of forever chemicals and tires and PFAS, and thereby sacrificing the health of your constituents, who are not just constituents, but your friends and neighbors and family. So we, as a statewide organization, are urging you to pass this air pollution law, the clean air law, for the good of your friends, family, and constituents. And I thank you very, very much for your time and your service.
Thank you, Tim. Clerk, next speaker.
Mike Ewald.
Mike?
Yes, I'm here now. Thank you. So my name is Mike Ewald. I'm the founder and executive director of Energy Justice Network. I'm an attorney who first alerted this body to the threat of Connecticut trash burning at Lafarge a few years ago, and was hired by the town of Queens to draft their local clean air law. There have been concerns recently raised by some of the county attorneys about equal protection and due process. I wanted to point out that 2 other laws that I wrote, one in Pennsylvania, one in Maryland, were both upheld when they were challenged in federal court on equal protection and on due process and every other constitutional ground that they were challenged on. So there should be no concern as far as—
So I'm not to hire anybody. All right.
Stand by, Mr. Ewell. Sure. Mr. Ethier, can you go to mute?
Okay,
sorry, Mr. Ewell. We'll go ahead and start the clock.
Thank you. So we carefully crafted this law to make sure that it does not impact facilities for waste that they're currently legally burning. But we do want a strong clean air law that ensures that new waste disposal facilities are effectively banned and that existing ones that are not already burning waste are not able to start burning waste and getting into that business. We want it to be clear in terms of Norlight's burning of firefighting foam, and also include the language that we initially intended that would ensure that waste to fuel facilities that turn trash or other waste into burnable fuels is not permitted either.
30 seconds.
We know there are companies like BioHightech across the river in Rensselaer that are being fought right now that might get pushed out of there and seek to find a home in Queens, which seems to be eager to roll out a red carpet for companies like them. And so we want to make sure this law is inclusive of those sorts of facilities, because we know that they are the pre-processing step to feed facilities like Norlight and Lafarge with some of their waste burning ambitions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Uwal. Clerk, next speaker.
Katie Limbo.
Katie? We don't have Katie. We'll certainly take her up if and when she joins. Clerk, next speaker.
Diana Abdi.
Go ahead, unmute Diana.
My name is Diana Abity, and I'm from Greene County, and I'm making this statement on behalf of Dave Walker from Greene County and also from 28 other individuals from Greene County. I just wanted to point out that we all know COVID-19 does not respect county boundaries, and neither does air pollution. And Albany County broadcasts your air pollution, both from the Norlight incinerator in Cohoes and the cement kiln in Ravenna to neighbors downwind. And that's us in Greene County, citizens of Rensselaer and Columbia counties. And we don't like that extra burden of air pollution. We already have enough as it is with Athens Generating Company. But I wanted to also point out that as other people have said, that the toxic particulate matter in air pollution is a really, really valid concern. And I just want to underline what other people have said. Other people have talked about respiratory illnesses such as Alzheimer's disease, and which you wouldn't think, but you know why I said that? Because we now know that particulate matter crosses the blood-brain barrier and contributes to cognitive impairment. So that's the most recent study there. We cannot let the COVID-19 crisis be an excuse to relax environmental safeguards. We really need to use this time as an opportunity to protect environmental standards, and particularly in this time of the pandemic where things could definitely go on for a couple of years or more. We were really surprised that Norlight had been burning AFFFs, and then today we were even further surprised to find out all the different sources that it came from. And of course, we're closest to Ravenna. So I just want to ask everyone here, the legislators, if you could please sponsor Local Law B and any other attempts that you can make to encourage the governor to support the Breslin-McDonnell clean air legislation. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Diana. Clerk, next speaker.
Barbara Heisen.
Barbara?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you. Earlier today in the afternoon, I sent Nicole Chambers some graphics of statistics showing what the quality of emissions was coming from the Lafarge cement plant before their modernization, and what emissions are coming from it in 2018 after they completed their upgrade. I think those statistics will show, if any of you look at them, that it's a dirty business making cement. We don't need to make it any dirtier. And for those in the company, supporting the company, who say with too many environmental restrictions, you're going to lose jobs and drive us out of the area. That's nonsense. They're not going anywhere. They wouldn't have invested this money if they were planning to leave. But what I'd really like to do is quote from a statement I was asked to read by Phil Crandall, who is the town supervisor in Queens when they passed the Clean Air Law. And he asked me to read a statement for him last December when we were considering a clean air law in Albany County then. In late March 2019, you may remember that Phil and his board passed the clean air law, even though it cost them the election when they were outspent 7-1 by the business interests. During his campaign, Phil's opponents said that they would never repeal the clean air law, but they are already moving against it. And those of us who live near here, and I'm right on the boundary with Queens, can see it happening now. This is what Phil said in December 19, and why he thought it was important to pass the Albany County Clean Air Law if Queens was going to trash their own. Quote, once tire burning begins, you won't be able to stop it. And once it starts, you won't have clean air. But you can't live if you can't breathe clean air. You can't eat good food if you don't have good soil. So if you do nothing, the burning begins. And what are we doing to ourselves and our neighbors? I want the town of Queens and Albany County to be a wonderful place to live and raise children. That's why I'm totally opposed to any garbage being burned in this region. We did everything we could to stop it. Now it's over to you. End quote. I agree with Phil and hope you will do everything you can to pass a strong clean air law as Mike and others have outlined. It's important to protect our citizens here.
That's time.
Thank you.
Clerk, next speaker.
Dr. Joseph Ochak.
Dr. Olajak. We don't have you. We will get to you if you join. Clerk, next speaker.
Rowena Baldwin.
We do not have Rowena. We will take her if they join before we adjourn. Clerk, next speaker.
Steve Pierce.
Mr.
Hello?
Pierce.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We've got you.
Good evening, members of the Albany County Legislature. My name's Steve Pierce. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about local law B. I appreciate the time you devote to your job as elected officials, especially on summer evenings like this one. I work in North Troy, where my office is situated 1 mile from the stacks at Norlight. At home in Stephentown, I've watched the plumes of smoke from burning hazardous waste drift over the river from Cohoes into Rensselaer County for decades. Through the administrations of many Democrats and Republicans, presidents, senators, mayors, council members, and legislators who mostly have done nothing about this travesty of justice. So I salute you for bringing forward local law B. You finally are trying to correct the situation. Thank you. I studied environmental justice issues for years while getting my PhD from the Department of Science and Technology Studies at RPI. But tonight, I'm just speaking about common sense as a longtime local resident. I'm a downwinder. My family and I are being poisoned by pollution from Albany County. So are my friends and neighbors. We all are. You are too. We certainly do live in a beautiful area, but we can't take clean air, water, and soil for granted. There are a few people who stand to make a lot of money by keeping clean air laws weak or non-existent in Albany County. And I'm sure you hear from them and their agents all the time. Thank you for listening to those of us who have only our health to gain from participating in this process. Please pass local law B, but make sure it's strong enough. It has to prohibit burning toxic firefighting foam throughout Albany County, but especially at Norlight and Cohoes. It has to prohibit tire burning throughout Albany County, especially at the Lafarge cement plant in Queens. And it has to prohibit the construction of waste incinerators. There is a tidal wave of garbage and toxic waste headed up the Hudson River towards us. There are people who plan to make a fortune burning it in our communities, and they don't care about us at all. We're depending on you to protect us. No one else is going to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Clerk, next speaker.
Sally Luletta.
Sally? Sally, need to unmute.
Hi, this is Sally Loletta, and thank you for this opportunity to testify this evening on local law B. Before I read my statement, I would just like to thank and congratulate Eliza from Bethlehem High School for testifying. As a school counselor, it gives me a great deal of hope to hear students like Eliza stand up and take a leadership role in protecting our environment. I hope she inspires other students as well as her Albany County legislators. As speakers before me have testified and scientists have concluded, burning tires and PFAS is a clear and present danger to the health of the citizens of the Capital Region. As we all struggle with the COVID pandemic, it is simply cruel to knowingly expose children, the elderly, people with health conditions, and all of us to these contaminants. Do what the state and federal government have failed to do. Protect our area from the carcinogens of Norlite and Lafarge. Lead by example by prioritizing clean air and putting people before profits. Please pass local law B. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Clerk, next speaker.
Alexis Goldsmith.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Got you.
Yes, thank you for having this hearing tonight. I really want to acknowledge that everyone is exhausted and at their mental and emotional limits. And I want to acknowledge that there's been a lot of difficulty with writing this bill, and I really applaud you with working to make air clean for Albany County and the surrounding communities. You've heard the problems with burning waste. And again, I want to thank you for trying to stop these international companies from polluting for profit. The people who live in these communities, including myself, I live 1 mile directly downwind from Norlite, are outraged about the decades of pollution from Norlite and Lafarge. Public trust with these companies and the regulatory bodies is tenuous. We do not trust that the DEC will protect us. We don't trust that the state and local government will protect us. And we are extremely worried that moneyed interests will win out over the will of the people. We want this bill and we need to close the loopholes, and we really hope that you will support this. We hope that this bill will accomplish a clear ban on new waste facilities, a clear ban on tire burning, a clear ban on AFFF burning, a clear ban on new hazardous waste burning, and that Norlite is clearly not exempt from the law. And as to the issue of threats to jobs, a clean air law will benefit local labor and especially protect the employees of Norlite and Lafarge, because they are the people exposed to these chemicals and emissions
30 seconds.
every day. I sincerely feel for the employees of Norlite especially. The employees of Norlite must sign non-disclosure agreements, and they cannot speak publicly about how AFFF has affected them. And I hope that you will consider the words of Albany County residents, which you represent first, and also the communities that are affected by poor air quality. Please remember, these corporations are not citizens and you are not their representatives. Thank you for working for this bill.
Thank you, Alexis. Clerk, next speaker.
Elizabeth Ahern.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Elizabeth Ahern. I'm the Conservation Associate for the Sierra Club Atlantic chapter, representing 50,000 members statewide. I am also a Cohoes native, now living in Troy. There is no evidence to indicate that burning PFAS firefighting foam is an effective means of destroying these chemicals. In fact, emerging data has shown that incineration may not completely destroy the chemicals and may actually disperse them throughout the air. Norlite burned 2 million pounds of AFFF before conducting any stack tests or environmental monitoring to ensure that incineration was actually destroying these toxic chemicals. This all occurred under the watchful eye of a full-time DEC monitor on site at the facility. Harmful perfluorinated compounds like PFOA and PFOS, the same chemicals that poisoned Hoosick Falls and Newburgh, are key ingredients in AFFF. We should take every measure and precaution to avoid further tragic public health crises that have occurred in our state as the result of these chemicals. This is an issue that we absolutely must take a proactive approach on, because if years from now we find ourselves addressing adverse effects from allowing this burning to occur, Chances are a reactionary response will be too little too late in many cases. This should be a common sense decision. Now is the time to take meaningful action to protect New Yorkers living, working, and recreating in close proximity to the state legislature, which is located in a state designated environmental justice area. While the state legislature and Senate have passed a law to ban AFFF incineration at Norlight, there's no certainty that Governor Cuomo will sign that bill. The Albany County Clean Air Law needs to include a permanent ban on burning AFFF. Thank you for the opportunity to comment today.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Clerk, next speaker.
Dave Pablo.
Which I just promoted them. I don't see them. Ask Dave to speak.
Dave, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We've got you.
Okay, yeah, it dropped me for a second there. All right, well, first of all, thank you for having this hearing. Echoing what other people have said about that. All right, so dear Albany County legislators, Local Law B, the Albany County Clean Air Law, is not just another bill. The ramifications of what Lafarge wants to do and what Norlight has been doing will outlive each and every member of the 2020 Albany County Legislature. I report on local issues for the Hudson Mohawk Magazine at WOOC in Troy, and I've done extensive research on this subject, on Norlight, on PFAS chemicals, on all stuff related to that. And I have learned the following things. I'm giving you, by the way, just the bare bones information on this, because when you read it in depth, it's just mind-blowing. But Norlight, under the watch of the DEC, has incinerated more than 2 million pounds of AFFF firefighting foam containing PFAS chemicals. PFAS chemicals never, ever break down in nature. They are toxic to us in tiny, tiny amounts, fractions of parts per billion. Incineration does not destroy PFAS chemicals. It just disperses them. The dispersal range is, at the very least, 30 miles from the Norlight plant. And that figure, by the way, is based on other sites, one in West Virginia, one in New Hampshire, actually in the town where I grew up. Norlight is no longer a local business putting money back into the community, and it hasn't been for some time. It's been owned by Tradeby since 2011, a Spanish company that is using Cajos as a dumping ground. Albany County, as far as Tradeby is concerned, is in the third world. We can't keep repeating these mistakes. Lafarge is the Answers plant all over again, but far worse. Norlight is General Electric and PCBs all over again, but far worse. For people who've lived in this area long enough, and my grandparents lived in Clifton Park when I was a kid, so I know this area very well. PFAS chemicals are more toxic than PCBs, and they never go away.
It's time.
I implore you, do not poison our families. This is the bare minimum that needs to happen for the children of this region to have a fighting chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Clerk, next speaker.
Wendy Dwyer.
We do not have Wendy.
Go back to. Oh wait, hold on. Hold on. Montana Sun is called earlier. Oh, here we go.
Montana, are you in? If you could unmute.
I am. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having this panel and allowing the public to speak. My name is Montana Stone, and I'm a lifelong resident of Bethlehem, New York. I fish in the Anesquithaw Creek for trout. I run on the Ravenna High School track and hike in the Hannah Croix Preserve every week. I'm also a Cornell University trained wildlife conservationist, and I've worked in 4 countries for over a year in the field on projects involving some of the most critically endangered species on the planet. And as such, I stand in strong support of the Albany County Clean Air Law. I'm appalled by the corruption, reckless attention for life that Lafarge has continued to have for residents of Ravenna and more broadly Albany County. Allowing the burning of millions of tires each year is a cost-saving measure for the company, but will be excessively costly for the environment, health of Albany County, and New York State if the local clean air law is not passed. It is clear that Lafarge does not and has not cared for anything beyond its profit line. Continuous fines for exceeding pollution limits, bribing Ravenna officials with a new turf field for their high school, and lawsuits for racial discrimination, which are still ongoing, prove that they are only in New York for profit and do not think any New Yorkers' lives matter. Voting to allow the largest cement company in the world to increase toxic gas emissions in Albany only proves that as legislators, you do not care about your oath to protect citizens over large foreign companies. Burning tires in Ravenna threatens the health of all those who breathe air in Albany County. We need stronger clean air laws, and we need them now. This is not a time to rely on federal regulations that are constantly gutted by uneducated leadership. This is a time to protect Albany County. New York and Albany have a history of letting corporations win over their citizens. General Electric has forever polluted the Hudson River with toxic PCBs. Large parts of the Albany Pine Bush have been paved over for now struggling malls. And incineration plants have been built in Hudson Falls that took millions of dollars of taxpayers' money, for which their demand has lasted less than a decade.
Best time, Montana.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room or in the meeting that wants to speak on local law B? You can raise your hand in the Zoom. We don't see anyone. So before I accept the motion to adjourn, I would like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Call the roll again.
Go ahead and unmute everyone.
Beston.
I see.
We've got Beston.
Brewski.
Here.
Bergdorf.
Here.
Chapman. Clay.
Here.
Clary. Clary.
We've got Cleary.
Meso.
We've got Camiso.
Cunningham. Demolowitz. Drake.
Here.
Afokoro. Deer.
Yeah, correct. Okay. All right.
We've got Efficoro.
Vicky Cleary, I'm here.
Excuse me, hon. No.
Gil.
Yes.
Beanie.
Dad's office. He's
Here.
in, Zoom.
Fine.
Here.
And he's cursing and he's
Glenn.
complaining.
Here.
Andrew Joyce.
Here.
Ray Joyce.
Here.
Kuhn.
Here.
Langdon.
Here.
Kakis.
Still here.
Lockhart. Here. Ariello.
Here.
Mayo.
Here.
McLaughlin.
Here.
McLean Lane.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
O'Brien. Joe. Burley.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Bosky.
Here.
Reedy.
I can see.
We've got
Reedy. Reinhardt.
Here.
Ricard.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Sonny. Ford.
Here.
Whalen. Willingham.
Here.
Okay, thank you, clerk. And I want to thank the members of the public and the members of the legislature for your participation tonight and also your patience. And I'd also like to thank our counsel to the chair, Patrick Collins, for not only running this entire meeting, setting the guidelines, setting the parameters, doing it flawlessly, but for also the work that he has done and Brandon Russell and Rebecca Kennedy have done to get local law B ready for a public hearing. So great work, Patrick. We could not do this without you. Please heed the advice of all medical professionals and keep yourselves and your families safe, everyone. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Nico, I didn't
So
hear my
moved.
name.
Motion by Mr. Peter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded
I didn't
by
hear my name.
Mr. Brewski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Hello,
Thank
Nico,
you.
did you get me?
We got you,
Yes.
Barrero. Good night.
All right, thank you.
Nicole,
Good night.
Nicole, it's Janet.
Hey, Janet. Oh, hey.
Can I just get, I didn't get a couple last names.
You want me to email it to you?
Okay, perfect.
Tell you all my stuff.
Great.
All right.
Great, thank you.